Hey guys, this is Eric B. Horn, and welcome to another session of the Career Clarity Virtual Summit. My hopes are that you are enjoying the interviews. You've gained a lot of aha moments. You've taken a lot of notes that can lead to further discussions with your peers and just overall sharing the information that we have to point you in the right direction if you are a professional that's currently struggling or stuck in your career that wants to get a better understanding of where to go but don't know how. So today's session, which is I'm very excited about, it's all geared towards consistency. Specifically, the topic is the benefits of being consistent in your career. For me, being consistent is everything, whether you are an entrepreneur, you are an entry-level professional, or you are an executive. How you show up every day in a consistent manner can be the difference from you being successful to you being not successful, to be very, very clear. And when it comes to the topic of consistency, I couldn't get a better person for this actual session. And this individual and a good friend of mine is Nissar Ahamed. Nissar is the founder and managing editor of the award-winning, let me say that again, the award-winning career blog, CareerMetis. If you haven't checked out CareerMetis.com, I know Nissar will talk about it a little bit more, but you are missing out. And he is also the host of the CareerMetis Podcast, which is a great podcast when it comes to career management, basically learning the ins and outs of it. And also, I chose Nissar because Nissar and I also have a project called CARE, which stands for Career Advancement, Readiness, and Enhancement. This is a video blog and Facebook group and club where him and I have collabed together to give you the ins and outs of so many topics geared towards career management and professional development. So once again, once you hear Nissar's story and you have a better understanding of what he's accomplished, you will definitely understand why I chose him for this particular topic. So Nissar, thank you for being on the Career Clarity Virtual Summit. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, Eric. Thank you for having me. So the pleasure is all mine. It's an honor to be part of the project.
No, the honor is on mine. The audience is definitely in for a treat. So when it comes down to it, I know your story. I know who you are. But for the sake of my audience, who is Nissar Ahamed and what inspired you to create CareerMetis.com?
So the first question I can answer very quickly, and the second one I'll give you a little bit longer answer. I am the founder and managing editor most of the online publication called CareerMetis.com. What we do at CareerMetis.com, it is an online publication. We focus on career advice for job seekers and freelancers. And the reason I call it not a publication instead of a blog, because I've been fortunate enough to not be the only author. I used to be one of the authors, but now it has grown to a community of over 700 authors who consistently are producing advice and sharing it through the platform. And it's an interesting story why and how I got started. So as many young professionals in my 20s, I have gone through the challenges of looking for a job. The same process, applying for a lot of jobs, getting a lot of rejection. And even when you get a job, something else happens, then you have to start the process all over again. Right. So whenever that happened to me, I would then go and read, watch videos. I even hired career coaches. Eventually, I got to a point where I was comfortable and actually confident. If something happened to my career, the job, I was able to get something else very quickly. So once that happened, funny enough, now once you know something, internalize it, you can share it with others. Then I started sharing that advice with my friends and family. So whenever they were looking for a new job, I would share those ideas with them. To a point where, and of course, I was not expecting anything. It was just trying to help them out. To the point where some of the friends who I knew very well said, you should start writing this. And initially I brushed it off. And I want to give a shout out to my very good friend, Jasper Sidhu, who kept, actually he veered me through the right path. instead of me focusing on other things. And he said, this is something you should start sharing. He introduced me to the whole concept of blogging, online publication. So I did, under his, I would say, a soft push, I did register the blog in 2013, but I didn't do anything until 2015. That's how it started. And the first 100 articles I wrote on my own. Then it started getting attention of other bloggers, other career coaches, other writers. They started reaching out to me. And then I thought, okay, that is a great way to share other people's content. And since then, I've been just riding the wave. So I've been as I said, I've been very fortunate with the support from the blogging community, career coaches such as yourself, who have all contributed or supported the project in one way or another. So a quick summary of what I just said. It started off as an accident, something I did not even think of doing. When I started, I just wanted to do it for learning. Now it got to a point where I could say it has become a legitimate business.
Which is a great segue. Just to backtrack for a minute, just for the audience, you guys have to remember, he said he wrote the first 100 blog articles, platform articles.
Uh-huh.
That's consistency within itself, because you have so many people in this day and age who feel that after they wrote their first 10 or their first 20 blogs, they should be an award-winning publication, or they should be an innovator and at the top of the food chain.
Uh-huh.
You have to understand, you have to consistently put in work. Sometimes the work may not be recognized through others until you get to a certain level, because a lot of people would write, or regardless of what you want to do in life, you would push more and more and more, and then you're not getting any traction. But you got to understand, in order to get that traction, you have to be consistent enough to keep going, even if no one is looking. So I say that to say, it would be a good segue to say, how many posts total posts have you created, or have your other writers created on CareerMetis.com? And also, how many podcasts have you done thus far? Just so my audience can gain, the work that you put in and the consistent work that you put in thus far.
It's a good question. So I was looking at that number before this meeting. So podcast is easy. This morning I had a recording as well. I have recorded 88 podcast episodes so far. Started it in May of 2016. Yeah, it's almost 2 years.
Nice.
On the blog side, or the article publication side, it's over 1,700 articles that we have published as a group. And I would say, I think 1,100 of them, or even actually close to 1,200 of them, came from other authors.
Nice.
So that's something I would say. So yeah, like I said, I've been, the momentum is there, where every day there are people reaching out, wanting to contribute, and people are consistently contributing every day.
And which goes back to the point of being consistent. Mm-hmm. Once you're starting out, regardless of what you're doing in your career, a lot of the stuff may fall on deaf ears, but you build up the consistency, you build up the traction, where you get to the point where instead of you reaching out to people will start to reach out to you, because they see the body of work that you are putting together. Once again, something will come from your consistency. The only time that something won't come when you're consistently doing nothing, if that makes sense to the overall audience. So Once again, 1,700 posts, blog articles, 80 plus podcasts, and you're still going. Based off the other conversations that we've had, I don't see you stopping anytime soon. So and that's a testament within itself, because you're not content, you're not complacent. You have the mindset, even though you have accomplished a lot thus far, you still have to accomplish more. And to accomplish that, you have to be even more consistent, which is great, because once again, consistency is from my standpoint, it's a mindset. You can choose to be consistent, or you can choose not to be consistent, but you have to understand go with the latter. Be consistent with regards to what you're doing, because you're going to get results from it sooner or later. Hopefully sooner than later, but you will get those results. So
can I say something about
please,
the whole thing? So,
please.
I mean, of course, most people, including yourself, might have heard of this individual called Gary Vaynerchuk. He's everywhere. He's on the internet. He's on Instagram. Yep. Everybody knows Gary Vaynerchuk, the person today. But one of the best articles or posts that I've seen him ever do was on LinkedIn one day, where he said, people always ask me, people come and say, come and tell me, you have been on Ellen, you have been on Conan shows, and wow, you must be really lucky, or you must be doing really well. And to that he replies, yes, you know what, I'm really grateful to be on Ellen and Conan, but for the first 3-4 years, I've actually published actually not 100,000 videos. He had a show called the Wine Library TV, yep, where he published videos every day. And he said, nobody knew me when I published those 1,000 videos, and some videos only got 5 views.
Yep.
And he said the problem today is everybody wants quick result. They only see the end result. They don't see the daily grind, day in and day out. And that applies for everything. I mean, not everybody might want to become like Gary Vaynerchuk, but that applies for every area of your life. You know, it's doing things on a consistent basis, if possible daily, if not at least on a very, very periodic basis.
No, and I'm so glad that you said that, because even though, you know, this session and all of the sessions in the summit is geared towards your career, consistency, you have to be consistently a good person, consistently a good parent, consistently a good spouse, teacher, blogger, whatever you're doing in life. Just show up every single day and be consistent and do your best. So I love the fact that, you know, this topic that we're talking about segues into all areas of someone's life, and hopefully someone who's looking at this and they were interested in this topic just based off of from a career perspective, this can now segue into any areas of their life. So that's very good. So I know what we've been talking about, consistency throughout the course of this session. However, I wanted to tap into your overall opinion. So what is your definition of consistency, and how's that helped you out in your career?
When I think of consistency, I heard this quote by, I think it was Brian Tracy who mentioned it. I don't think it was his quote, but he mentioned that self-discipline is doing the things that you should do, whether you feel like it, or you must do and you should do, whether you feel like doing it or not. And that ties into consistency. And I always love drawing analogies to health, right? So this is March when we're recording this. So around this time, you know, January, everybody starts out the year with excitement, new resolutions. They want to go to the gym. I hate going to the gym in January, but by now it's actually the best time to go because everything is free, right? And
right.
That's a good example. If you have taken 30 years to be out of shape, you can't expect to get it done in 30 days. And, and unfortunately, today we live in a society where everything is like, you know, seven quick hacks, 5 quick hacks, 30 days. It's a lifelong thing. So you one last thing about the body is you have only one body to live in. So you have to be consistently taking care of it. It doesn't matter what you do, whether you go for a walk every day, go to the gym, I don't care. But if you're doing it on a consistent basis, like daily or many times a week, you will be healthier than everybody else.
Right.
And going back to the career side, and I'll come back to myself, but I want to talk about the career side because no matter what you do, whether you're in IT, whether you're in healthcare, whether you're in sales, you're expected. Your company consistently pays you, right? They pay you once a week, twice a month, once a month, but they also expect you to consistently show up and deliver. And that's like a transaction. But that's where consistency is. There's some days you don't feel like doing it, but you still go and work. And a lot of people, unfortunately, live in this bubble where they think that they should only do something when they do feel like doing it. And I think that's one biggest mistake, right? I always ask people, like, imagine we all commute to work, whether you take the train, you take the bus, or you take, or you drive. Imagine for one day, your transit driver doesn't come to the stop. Imagine for one day, all the cops in your city stop working, all the fire and people in the fire department stop working. Imagine for one day, this is winter, Toronto, Chicago gets a lot of snow. Imagine for one day when it snows, they don't come out, right? What do you think will happen? So, by the way, these are all jobs as well. These people have a career, they have professions, and unfortunately, we live in a society where everything is taken for granted. And I'm not even talking about taking your career to the next level. I'm just talking about basic, even charting a career where you're just steadily working day in, day out. Consistency is something you have to get used to it, and you have to do it whether you feel like it or not. And the reason I shared that is you asked me a question about myself. I'll be honest. Some days I do have, like, I'll be total transparency. You know this. I do have a full-time career, and everybody who knows me knows that as well. I do this in my evenings and weekends because I do enjoy what I do on a full-time basis. I do enjoy what I do, and I consider myself very fortunate. Um, some days after work, it's very hard, very physically and mentally exhausting to come and sit down, look at the emails of all my contributors, and edit and publish articles. Almost every day. Only few days I feel like, yes, I want to go and publish some articles. Most of the days I don't feel like doing it, right? Most of the day I don't feel like doing it. So I just do it. And like, it's almost 3 years now. I hate to repeat the word consistency, but once the momentum is in process, it is hard to stop. You have to do it because then it becomes much more complicated with you not doing it. So full honesty, like, it's not easy. Consistency is not something that it's easy. There's some days I don't want to do it, but you still do it. And a week later, when you look back or think back, you're very happy you did.
Which is, first and foremost, thank you for being transparent with you saying some days that you don't feel like doing it. And hopefully, anyone that's looking at this session, that's a key thing right there. Consistency isn't perfect. And consistency isn't always wanting to do what you need to do, right? Sometimes you don't want to do it. Me personally, I feel bad when I have some days where I don't want to record, or I don't want to write, or I don't want to plan for this speaking engagement. I feel like that a lot. But to your point, with the overall momentum, you still move in the right direction. It's okay for you to not want to do something and still do it. I mean, actually, that proves how bad you really want it, because you're being resistant, and it's so easy to stop doing something. It's so easy. It's much harder to start something and keep it going and maintain that momentum. So I hopefully the audience is a sigh of relief when they hear someone who's accomplished so much. I can honestly say some days you don't feel like doing it, but at the same time, you still push past it and get it done. And that's the piece that a lot of successful people, they don't look at the pain and the not even the failures, but the pain and them not wanting to do something. For example, everybody knows who LeBron James is. He calls himself the greatest basketball player in the world, but I'm pretty sure there's times where even though he is a champion, I'm pretty sure that there are days where he doesn't want to go to practice. He would rather stay in the bed. He would rather not eat healthy. But being consistent, a word that's parallel to consistency is commitment. Your commitment, if you are committed to doing something, it's okay for you to not, if you don't feel like doing it, but still push past it, and it'll make you a better person. And it'll also, help you pull some things from you that you didn't even think that existed. Because once again, it's so easy to quit as opposed to pushing past that and still moving forward to accomplish your ultimate goal. So, and it takes a certain amount of It takes a certain mindset and a certain amount of intelligence to understand consistency. However, in my opinion, there is a difference when it comes to the overall, how you would assess intelligence and consistency. But the question that I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, what's more valuable, being intelligent or being consistent?
So intelligence is people can define intelligence in many different ways, right? So let's assume for the sake of this question, you're talking about, your IQ or being smart. Here's my answer to that. Intelligence might get you into the door, but it is your consistency that will keep you going. And the answer is might, and I'll tell you why. And for example, no matter what you do, you could have talent, and there is so much debate. Some people say talent is overrated. Some people say, yeah, everyone has. The entire psychology, behavioral science, everybody's divided on this. Some say there is inner talent that you can build on, and some says, let's say both of them are right. But regardless whether you have talent, whether you have intelligence, if you don't do the work, when I say consistency, I'm talking about work. If you don't do the work, it's hard to get it happen, make anything happen. Like, forget about being successful. It's hard to even survive in a career. I want to go back to a basketball analogy, then I'll do a career analogy, because you mentioned LeBron James. I recently read a book, highly recommend, by Tim Grover. It's called Relentless. And this is a person who actually coached Michael Jordan. He coached Kobe. So you can imagine the type of people he coached. And he said one thing they all had in common, all these successful super athletes, where no matter how they felt, no matter whether they won or lost, they always showed up to practice. They practiced longer than anybody else. I'm not a big sports fan, but I love great athletes, so much to learn from them. And we only see the half an hour when we turn on the TV or we go buy a ticket to a game. We probably see that 3-hour game once. We think they only play twice a week, but every day they're training 6 hours on day, right? So a lot of people, I think most people never see that. Going with careers as well. Now I want to switch gears and answer that question. If all it took was intelligence to be successful, all people have to do is, if they are intelligent, get a very good degree and sit at home and let the job offers come in. And I'm saying that with sarcasm, because we all know that unemployment among all age groups and young professionals is always the highest. There's so much competition, and the market is competitive. And no matter how super intelligent you are, you cannot sit at home. So what do people do in that situation? They go out and network. They apply for jobs. They connect on LinkedIn. They read on publications about what they can do. And those are the people who have an edge over others who take things for granted. So I know that's a long answer. I wanted to make it, the reason I use the basketball analogy is most people get it. I strongly believe in myself. I always wanted to be, where I work full time, I said to myself, I never want to be known as the smartest person in the office, but if I get the reputation as this person cannot be outworked, I would be very, very happy, because I know the person who outworks will always, in most cases, beat the person who's smart.
Which outworking someone is being consistent. Because I love the analogy, the intelligence can bring you to the door, but it won't get you in, and it won't keep you in the particular room that you're trying to get into, or help you advance to the next room. So I love that. So based off of everything that we've talked about thus far, I'm pretty sure now my audience has the best understanding on why You are a great example of someone who's consistent from a mindset perspective, and then also from a production standpoint, based off of the number of blog entries and podcasts you've done thus far. So based off all of that, what's next for you, Nissar, and CareerMetis.com?
Wow. I could take 2 hours to answer this, but I'll keep it. So I'll tell you short-term goals. For right now, there is like some goals that are on maintenance mode. For example, I told you the podcast is on episode 88. I've come to a realization there is so much I can do. I have no intention of stopping. I've set a stretch goal, and this will take probably the next 2 to 3 years, take it to episode 300 and beyond, because there's so much content out there. On the publishing side, I don't want to stop at 700 authors. My goal is in the next few months to get to 1,000 contributors and grow that beyond. Because I want audience. The reason I'm doing that, and I've been advised against getting a lot of contributors, focus on quality versus quantity. The reason I want to do that is I wanted to get different perspective on the same topic. For example, writing a resume, I can give you one advice, you can give one advice, and someone else can give you a totally different advice. How about my idea is to provide that to the audience all in one site so they can see and compare. Because what people do is they type a topic, they look at Google, they look at the top 10 topics and go through the 3. I want them to look at 3 articles on the same subject on my site. So that's my ambitious goal. Few other things that we are planning in the next few months. I'm planning to launch a job board. Now we have content advice. Next is to help them connect with fast growing employers in different cities, starting with Toronto. Then I'll expand it to New York, Chicago, and every other city, eventually all of North America. And one thing I've also found, which is two people reached out to me last week and said, can you help me with so-and-so? And something that I don't enjoy doing is one-on-one coaching. I noticed there is a niche. So one of the things I want to launch in 2018 is a career coaching marketplace where a pool of individuals who are looking for contact can search through a pool of coaches, whether they search by location, they search by industry, they search by experience or language, they can find them. So those are the 2 things I'm working on. There's no shortage of things to work on, Eric. So I'm excited for that, and just staying consistent. That's the thing I need to do.
There it is. So Nissar, I can never thank you enough for your time, your intelligence, your wisdom. Every time that we have a conversation, it's a wealth of information, and hopefully now my audience can kind of pull back the curtain on what we talk about all the time and can really focus on the true value that you bring to the table based off of your endeavors. So your consistent endeavors. So I thank you for your time, your effort, and energy. Before we leave, did you have any, final words or anything of that nature, or at least let my audience know how they can reach out to you, whether it's for new contributors or if someone wants to help you with your overall initiative? How can they reach out to you?
So the best way to reach out to me is on LinkedIn, or you can also reach me by email, nissar@CareerMetis.com. I'll share that with you, and if you can share it along with the video.
Definitely.
But you asked me for one last word, what I can share with the audience. And one thing I would say is, no matter what you end up doing with your career, whether you're just starting out or you're in your mid-30s and you're working for the last 5 years at the same company, you're spending 8 hours. Actually, I would argue you're spending close to 12 hours a day of your waking hours on your work. And everybody does this. So you might as well enjoy what you're doing and might as well do something that you find meaningful, because that is really, really true. Because don't make it a chore And like I love, I think it was Robin Sharma or Seth Godin who said that most people work 50 hours, 50 weeks for that 2-week vacation, but there are a few fortunate ones that their entire work feels like a vacation, right?
Yep.
Because they are so much enjoying what they do. So I would say never settle. You will be spending most of your waking life, your adult life working. Might as well find something that you will enjoy, and I'm confident everybody will find something that they can truly put their teeth in, and that's what I wish for not only this audience but anyone who listens to this. So thank you, Eric. Thanks for allowing me to come and share my ideas.
No problem. Thanks again. Thank you again. And I'll see you guys at the next session.